What if Darth Vader trained Anakin Skywalker? In the Star Wars saga, we witness the tragic transformation of Anakin into Vader, cementing himself as the greatest fictional villain of all time. Anakin's time as Darth Vader is poised with depression and hate. However, something I have always wondered is why he didn't try and bring Padme back, or even clone her. So that's where this idea comes from. So what if Vader cloned Anakin and trained him in the ways of the Force? Our story begins after Revenge of the Sith, when Vader is depressed and has lost everything. His wife is dead, his best friend betrayed and sliced his arms and legs off, and even his family at the Jedi Temple were gone. In Vader's mind, the Jedi turned on him, and it's because of them that he is like this. He didn't want to be alone any longer. Because of this, Vader began looking into cloning. He visited Nala Se on Kamino and inquired about the possibility of bringing his wife back, but sadly, Nala Se explained the limits of cloning, that to generate the cells, there needed to be a genetic template of another who is already alive, with functioning cells and organs. For the clone army, this was Jango Fett. A dead person couldn't be cloned. While Vader was initially upset, he took this opportunity to clone the only person who hadn't left him yet, himself. Vader undergoes a procedure by the Kaminoans, and after trial and error, the scientists officially clone Anakin Skywalker with the same accelerated speed that the clone troopers had. It works, and Anakin Skywalker is born. Now I'll just quickly interject here and say that from now on, when I say Vader, I mean the original Anakin who turned to the dark side, and when I say Anakin, I'm referring to the cloned version of Vader. I know that's probably obvious, but just so we're all on the same page, I had to clarify that. Vader takes Anakin back to Mustafar and sets up a room in the castle for him. The Dark Lord knew that he had to hide this clone from Sidious for both his safety and the young boys. Sidious would want the Chosen One's power all for himself, and Vader was honestly surprised that Sidious had never thought of cloning him sooner. From here, Vader begins training Anakin. He teaches him everything there is to know about the Force and the dark side. Vader didn't tell Anakin who he truly was, that he was just a clone, that he wasn't a real human being. Instead, he raised Anakin like a son. He grows up under Vader's guidance on Mustafar. Anakin wasn't just a student, but a son, and a deep bond was forged between them. As the years passed, Anakin becomes a prodigy in the Force. In the original timeline at the Jedi Temple, the Force came extremely naturally to Anakin. Despite joining the Order when he was 9 years old, he quickly equaled and even surpassed the other younglings and Padawans in his class. It was something about the way the Force connected to his being, like it was meant to be. And for Anakin growing up on the volcanic terrain of Mustafar, this would be the same. He was a natural student. He quickly understood how to levitate stones and rocks until he evolved to controlling the flow of lava on the riverbank. With Vader's constant berating of the dark side, Anakin was a student of evil. From the moment he could walk, his eyes burned with the dark side, as the yellow gleam always cascaded against the lava. They trained all over the planet, sometimes in the castles, other times across the lava and in the base where Anakin and Obi-Wan fought. Vader even took Anakin deep into the dark side caves, where he bled his kyber crystal after stealing it from Kirak in Fila. They became like father and son. And even though he strengthened the dark side within him, Vader showed him love and kindness. There was something about him that reminded the Dark Lord of his previous life. Even though they were technically the same person, Vader treated him like his son, like Jango did to Boba. As Anakin turns 10 years old, Vader finally gives him the opportunity to get his first lightsaber. Vader was cruel, and he knew all too well that the blade of a Sith isn't given, it is taken. Whilst on Kashyyyk, Vader captured and brought Jedi Padawan Gungi, who survived the purge, to Mustafar. Anakin's test was simple: kill Gungi and take his kyber crystal for himself. Gungi and Anakin fought, with the young Wookiee swinging his emerald blade and trying to catch Anakin. But Anakin dodged, and used the Force and his surroundings to his advantage, throwing boulders and ripping droids from their occupational jobs of transporting lava. The fight was intense, but Anakin fought with a lust that outweighed Gungi's desire to live. Anakin used the Force to conjure the lava from the lake and onto Gungi's arm, causing the Wookiee to drop his saber, allowing Anakin to grab hold of the hilt, reignite it, and kill the Jedi. Vader was pleased, but Anakin wanted more. One drop of Jedi blood wasn't enough for him. What followed was the bleeding process, which went by easily. Anakin Skywalker now had his crimson saber. Anakin's life until this point had been very sheltered. Vader kept him secluded on Mustafar, both to allow him to train and grow, but also to protect him from Palpatine, who was the biggest threat of all. However, this led to Anakin beginning to question certain things. Why were there no others like him? Why does Vader avoid speaking about his past? And why does he feel an unexplainable sense of deja vu when looking into the mirror? The young boy couldn't explain these things, but he thought that it must be the Force flowing through him. When Anakin turns 14, Vader takes him off Mustafar for the first time, leading him on dangerous missions throughout the galaxy. The Dark Lord picked and chose when his apprentice should go. The missions had to be remote enough that there would be no survivors or eyewitnesses to tell Palpatine about the other Force user wielding a red lightsaber. Anakin wore a helmet similar to those worn by the Inquisitors to conceal his identity. Over the course of these missions, Anakin proves himself, earning a reputation as a cold-blooded killer. However, Palpatine does begin to grow suspicious of Vader's increasingly secretive behavior. Throughout the course of the Empire, Palpatine never really trusted Vader, and he always assumed that he was up to things, if it was plotting his death or secretly constructing a new suit. But for the most part, Palpatine never truly worried or feared him. He always kept a strong eye on his apprentice. With Palpatine growing suspicious of his apprentice, he sends spies, inquisitors, and even baits Vader with false betrayals. But Vader was somehow always one step ahead, as if he had something to hide. This made the Emperor grow very impatient, and he knows that Vader is hiding something. Anakin's first true test comes when Vader takes him to hunt a Jedi hiding on a war-torn Outer Rim world. The Jedi is a survivor of Order 66, Master Shak Ti. During the battle, Anakin dominates Shak Ti with his raw power, but she senses something strange within him. As she fights, she recognizes his presence in the Force. As she swung her blade at both Sith, she knew something was off. She sensed the exact same being, and that being reminded her of the Jedi General that she knew during the Clone Wars. As she begins to get dominated, she calls out desperately, shouting Anakin's name. Confused and shaken, Anakin hesitates, giving Shak Ti an opening to escape, who starts running. Vader was furious at his son's weakness, and he threw his saber at lightning speed, removing Shak Ti's head from her body. But Vader didn't care anymore. He demanded an answer. How did this random Jedi know his name? Vader refused to explain, telling him the Jedi are deceitful and not to be trusted. But this situation marked the first fracture in their relationship. Over the next few years, Anakin grows stronger but also more restless. He begins questioning his identity, secretly doing as much research into the Jedi to see what he could find. He knew his father was hiding something. Now 18 years of age, Anakin was unbelievably powerful, and his strength in the Force was unmatched. His strength was far greater than in the original timeline, and this was due to Vader's tutelage. Anakin had mastered every single Force ability that he would ever need, including Force Lightning, which was a difficult learning process due to Vader not understanding the ability either. But eventually they discovered it, and Anakin mastered it. He could use Force Choke, conceal his presence in the Force, draw on as much darkness as was necessary to fuel his strength. He was a truly formidable Sith, but still, the one thing that bugged him was the secrets and lies his father was telling him. This all culminated to the breaking point when Anakin intercepted a communication between Vader and Nala Se, who was required to check in with the Dark Lord to ensure that the cloning process was still working. But this was all that Anakin needed. He knew there was something about himself that linked to Kamino, and so he steals a ship and flies there alone, uncovering the truth with secret records of his creation. When Vader realizes his son has left, he follows him, arriving shortly after his clone. Vader knows there is nothing he can say. When Anakin sees Vader walk in behind him, he finally confronts him, asking who he is. It's too late now. The truth is finally revealed. Vader explains that he is a clone, that he isn't the true Anakin Skywalker, but in fact, Darth Vader is Anakin, broken and damaged. Anakin's jaw clenches as he is told that he's a recreation of Anakin, artificially born because Vader couldn't let go of the past. Betrayed and enraged, Anakin lashes out at Vader, accusing him of manipulating him, of stealing his right to a real life. They both ignite their crimson blades and fight. The duel is brutal, emotional, and devastating. Vader fights stiff and with as much strength as possible, but it was Anakin who had superseded the metal man's power. He was young, athletic, and could move in ways Vader only dreamed of. He was the full potential that Vader had dreamed of achieving when he was a Jedi. The duel ends with Anakin slicing off one of Vader's arms, stabbing his right leg, and slashing across his helmet, revealing his true face. The Dark Lord fell to the ground defeated. As Anakin stood over him, tears falling down his face as he prepared to end his father, the doors behind them opened, and a voice no one would ever forget is heard. Cackling and laughter emanates throughout the hallway, and shivers ascend down Anakin's spine. Out walks Emperor Palpatine. He had suspected Vader's secret for years, and this finally confirms it. Palpatine immediately senses Anakin's power, and finds an opportunity. Vader was beaten and broken on the ground, his suit nearly destroyed. The clone of Anakin was far more powerful than him, and then it clicked. Anakin would be Palpatine's new apprentice. Sidious encourages Anakin. He manipulates him, tells him of all the deceit Vader had placed upon him for his own selfish personal gain. He wasn't his father, he was just using him. In this vulnerable moment, Anakin would fall under Palpatine's trap, just as he had on Coruscant all those years ago when he killed Windu. Vader tried to stop it, but it was too late. Anakin left with Palpatine, and Vader was all alone once again. So from here, Vader barely survives. He lies on the ground as pain and suffering takes over, but for the first time, he doesn't let the dark side consume him. He holds himself back. For the first time in years, he lets the light side pour in. He needs help. The dark side has failed him, and the light answers. From the shadows, the Force ghost of Qui-Gon Jinn appears. Vader couldn't believe it. Qui-Gon tells him to get back up, to not give up on Anakin, and that he has a real chance here of being good and restoring all that which he has destroyed. Vader throws these comments aside, telling him it's too late, that the galaxy can never recover, that he just misses Padme and wants to see her again. But Qui-Gon assures him he's wrong. If he can get through to Anakin and spark the light that's in him, then they can defeat Palpatine and restore peace to the galaxy. And with that, Qui-Gon left, and Vader had his goal. He will not let Palpatine destroy Anakin as he was destroyed himself. Calling on the Kaminoans once again, Vader is rebuilt, and with the Kaminoans' help, his suit is upgraded, improving his mobility. Palpatine had included faults in Vader's suit to purposefully cause him pain, to drive him further into the dark side, but these features were removed. There weren't thousands of needles digging into his skull. His voice operator didn't need to constantly sound, and he could finally move his arms above his head. He is no longer just the Sith Lord who serves. He is something new. Meanwhile, Anakin becomes the Emperor's new enforcer, surpassing even Vader in sheer power. Under Palpatine's manipulation, he revels in destruction, leading brutal campaigns against the last remnants of the rebellion and Jedi Order across the Outer Rim. He is dubbed Darth Vader, and the entire galaxy fears his name. But deep down, Anakin begins to sense something is missing. He is everything: power, control, the Emperor's favor, but there is a void inside of him. Nightmares plague him, flashes of a life he never lived, of a man named Anakin Skywalker. Vader was ready to save Anakin and destroy Palpatine. After months of searching for him, Vader finally ambushes Anakin on Alderaan during a skirmish from the Empire against the rebellion. They clash once again. Vader's lightsaber hadn't been purified yet, but when he ignited the saber, the blade was a bright pink. the mix between red and white. This demonstrated that he was on the path to full purification. Anakin knew that something had changed. The fight was fast and deadly, and as they clashed their blades, Vader asked Anakin if this is the future he wanted, or if it's the one that Palpatine had chosen for him. Anakin brushes it off as a Jedi trick of weakness, but something in Vader's words linger. His rage falters for the first time, and although the duel ends with both of them escaping, Anakin was left with doubt. Sensing this weakness, Palpatine tightens his grip, ordering Anakin to personally hunt down and execute Darth Vader. The hunt begins, with Anakin pursuing his former master across the galaxy. Vader knew that he had to make the encounter right if he were to turn the clone back to the light. As Vader traveled back to Kamino, he uncovered the truth. Since Palpatine discovered Anakin, he had been generating backups. Now that he had the perfect genetic template, he could create dozens of Chosen One clones to forge an army. Vader couldn't believe it. This was science and evil beyond anything he had ever imagined. Vader lures Anakin back to Kamino, where Skywalker discovers the truth too. Vader tells his apprentice that it's not too late, that he can still come back, and they can right their wrongs. Vader takes full responsibility for everything, and says that there can be a future where they are just father and son again. Anakin crumbles to the ground as tears flood his cheeks. His emotions poured out as his father held him, telling him that it's alright, that soon they will travel the galaxy and he can tell him all the stories from his youth. But first, they had to finish Palpatine. Together, they both travel to Coruscant and go to Palpatine's office. Arriving, Anakin demands answers from the Emperor, but Palpatine only laughs, explaining that he was never meant to be his last apprentice, that he would only serve until he found something better. As these words leave his lips, from the shadows emerges another clone of Anakin Skywalker, this time perfected, this time more powerful than either of them could ever imagine. Anakin stares at his clone, at this replacement, and something inside of him snaps. With a roar of rage, Anakin ignites his lightsaber and attacks Palpatine. The Sith Lord barely had enough time to react as Anakin lashes out, his power fueled by betrayal and rage. Vader joins the battle, and the new clone also ignites his blade and fights. Together, Anakin and Vader fight as one. The clone fights fiercely, matching Anakin's move for move, but Anakin fights with something the clone lacks: true emotion, will, a purpose beyond mere obedience. And this proved to be the difference. As the clone used a perfect combination of the 7 lightsaber forms, Anakin thought outside the box, using the Force to throw objects at him and duck under his strikes. He used techniques that the clones couldn't use. He was essentially a robot, and Anakin exploited this. Finally, he slices under his arm and through his chest, killing the clone. Palpatine was now cornered as he sneered, but he unleashed the full power of the dark side, summoning a massive storm of lightning above Coruscant. Lightning strikes the city, hitting the Senate, Jedi Temple, and Palpatine's office with a bang. But unlike before, he faces not one, but 2 Skywalkers. Vader grips Palpatine in a Force choke, while Anakin charges forward with his saber. Palpatine struggles, unleashing torrents of Sith lightning, but Anakin presses through the pain, driving his lightsaber straight through the Emperor's chest. Palpatine let out a final, hate-filled scream as his body collapses to the floor, dead. Suddenly, stormtroopers pour in from all entry points and begin firing at the Jedi Knights, who deflect the blaster bolts and jump out the window. They get to their ship, blast off into hyperspace. It was done. The Emperor is dead, the Sith are no more, and the Empire will fall. The father and son were now free to travel the galaxy in peace and live the life they both deserve and dreamt of. Thank you all for watching today's video. Please check out our saber shop, Fantasy Sabers, where you can get your very own NeoPixel saber for an affordable price and fulfill your childhood dreams of becoming a Jedi or Sith. Also check out our membership platform to be able to watch our videos early, and may the Force be with you.